Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. I mean, the only thing is, I think you're right. I think Paradox Rift is probably the top booster box to invest in right now, Julian. So I'm glad you mentioned that before we went live, so we didn't have to clear it up a bit later. But yeah, that's good advice, man. I really appreciate it. Welcome, guys, to the channel. We got OKJLUV in the stream tonight. He just had a sandwich. I'm on the
I'm still
apple juice
eating
as
it.
well. Yeah. What time is it for you?
2 p.m. Thanks for having me,
2
Rob.
p.m. 2 p.m. Thank you so much for coming on, Julian. Seriously, really appreciate it. I know I made a silly thumbnail, but I'm genuinely really excited to hang out with you, man. Like, I think it's going to be a cool hour or so, and I appreciate you giving up some time during your very busy day. I didn't know that you own your own business.
That is correct. Yeah, that's why I can do what I do. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to make videos, stream during the middle of the workday,
Yes,
and actually make money.
you have to squeeze things in the middle, like lunch breaks and stuff, and yeah, it's not super easy, and with kids too, it's not super great. But yeah, so what do you do? Can you say or no?
What do I do? Sorry, I just opened up the stream.
It's okay.
What do I do? What do you mean, what do I do?
What's the business?
Well, it's listen. We leave shop at home. I like to I like to differentiate the two. I like to keep them separate because they're pretty unrelated, and it's almost like there's two different lives. I like to keep it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. No worries. All good.
Yeah.
All good. So I'm sponsored tonight by Cognac. I believe it's called Ducey. Cognac Ducey. I thought I'd bring out something nice for tonight. Obviously, it's 2 p.m. for you. What are you drinking? Anything? Soda? Coffee?
I'm a coffee guy. I don't really drink a lot of alcohol just because I exercise a lot and I don't like to undermine the exercise I do with alcohol. So
I find it.
But
helps
if I do drink though, I will I party drink. So
okay, yeah. So you're a binge drinker then? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say I'm a binge drinker, but I don't drink alone.
Okay, well that feels like an attack. So,
but if like someone brings out, some spirits or there's a reason to celebrate, then I'll celebrate. I'm Italian, so like it's not like I'm against drinking. It's like pretty ingrained in our culture, but yeah, not something I just do on my own. Just again because I don't like to undermine. I'm a bit of a nerd in that aspect. So.
That's fair enough.
If I was drinking, I would have maybe a little bit of neat whiskey, but that would be it.
My man, yeah, that's it. That's what I like to drink the best. Yeah, I like a little bit of neat whiskey, maybe a cognac, some kind of blended scotch. Like, yeah, and it goes down really easy, so it's nice and it's medicinal. I figure there's studies that show it helps with Alzheimer's later in life and depression. It's really good for you. So I won't be stopping anytime soon. Thanks everyone for joining. I really appreciate it. There's been some people in the chat that are anxious to get started. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you guys joining in. We'll try and keep locked into the chat a little bit. I'm not the best at this, but I will do my best. I promise you guys. There's been some good comments already. We're all loaded up. So Julian, yeah, I guess the starting point here is going to be your video, and I guess what's been going on, one of your most recent videos, around kind of the reason that Prismatic Evolutions is sold out, a lot of the problems that we have in the hobby right now, and just a lot of, in general, what's going on. So from your standpoint, you've mentioned a few things that are out there. I mean, I guess we'll start with the investors, and I know that you haven't blamed one specific group. You're not like saying, oh, it's all the investors for, or it's all, this group or that group or whatever it may be. But in your mind, do you think Pokemon is doing enough today, releasing their statement to say, hey, we're going to basically print everything as much as we can right now? Or is it not enough to crash the market?
I think there's kind of two questions there. One about whether I think what TPCI is doing is enough, and two, whether I think it would crash the market. I think that statement that TPCI put out today was just late and kind of like lip service, because I feel like they managed this situation very bad from a passionate a regular collector's POV, but from a marketing POV, it was pretty much flawless execution. Because they didn't really need to do any traditional marketing. The hype and the hysteria did it all for them. So, in that aspect, they handled the marketing of it well. But when I saw that statement this morning, I was like, yeah, that's just lip service. The same way that the statement that I spoke about in the video was lip service 3 years ago, and then lip service again when they posted it, because they just updated. When they updated it last year, it was the same statement. It was just like an update. So, will it crash the market? No, I don't think it would crash the market. I don't even think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna fix anything, because I spoke about this in the stream yesterday. That kind of like that the supply needs to be steady, not dropped. When it's dropped, you get savages. We've all seen the videos. I actually watched one this morning, which was, I watched it like multiple times, of people going into Costco to get those Blooming Waters boxes.
Yep.
And that's what happens when you do drops, or like when you do like a restock and it's just like one. The stuff needs to be on the shelves. You need to be able to go into a store and just pick it up, but they're not supplying enough. We know they're not supplying enough because they waited 3 months between pre-orders selling out on the website and today, 2 months, to make a statement and say, hey, we're doing our best. If they were doing their best, they would have seen that like a week after the pre-orders went crazy and said, okay, ramp it up, and then put a statement on the website and say, hey, we're not blind. We can see what's going on third-party websites. We're going to make sure there's a steady supply. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I very much do agree with that. Like it's always jarring, I think, for from whichever angle you come at it from, when you see something is sold out and the FOMO takes over, especially with a set that is this hyped up. I mean, someone's mentioned in the comments there, like, just putting Eevee on the front is enough. And that's what feeds into this hysteria, feeds into people wanting to just pay as much as they can to get a product. They don't think they're going to be able to get it, in short, is what happens. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And by the way, if you want to eat, I will not be offended in
I'm looking at
any way at all. You should eat, man. You should eat. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and making time for me tonight. So, so there's been a few interesting things that have happened. I know there's, like, between you and Brian, there's diametrically opposed hairstyles and philosophies about what products to use in your hair and how that should go across. But there's the thing with Pokémon that kind of maybe spiraled a little bit today. He put up a funny reel. I saw a few of your stories. I'm guessing you guys aren't doing an affiliate link anytime soon.
No.
Do you guys chat at all? Did you chat about it, like, in exchange any messages or anything? Or?
Yeah, I've spoken to him in the past, here and there. We had a conversation years ago. It didn't really go anywhere. I can't really remember what it was about. And I've even bought from him before. I wanted to gift something to somebody, and it was just easier at the time to get V-Star Universe to them by paying someone in the States and then having it shipped locally than it would be for me to just send it to them. But no, we don't really talk, like, outside of that. He did pop in the stream and he tried to comment and I missed it. But that was about it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. What's your take on, I guess, Japanese card stores that are based in the US that are flipping product in from wholesalers? I mean, you and I actually, the reason I ask is you and I exchanged some messages a while ago, and for the record, you've always been very supportive in the brief interactions we've had, the two of us. I've been very grateful to you for putting me on that investor stream, like, very candidly, when I was a really small content creator. Not that I'm bigger now, but, like, I mean, it was like you didn't have to do that, so I'm very grateful for that. But I was like, hey, maybe I should do this or that, and I think you said something to the effect of, like, you kind of end up, like, just being another one in the shuffle, or being another guy that's just flipping over cards. So what's your honest feeling towards guys that are doing that, or stores that are making a living doing that?
Yeah. By the way, you don't need to make it out like it was a big deal that I got you on the stream. So
It was for me.
Yeah, I mean, but, like, it's fine. There's no big deal. But yeah, I actually had this conversation publicly on Twitter about 3 or 4 days ago with a different Japanese card reseller, Sakura's Card Store, who I've spoken to a lot and I got on pretty well with, I think. I actually had, like, a very long conversation with him at Card Party, the first one, once it all wrapped up. I like distinctly remember where I was standing because it was a very long convo. So Japanese Pokemon card resellers fill a void. I see a comment there. I love the username, Sir Meatwad, saying that the biggest difference between Pokémon and JLUV is that Pokémon is honest and has a proven record of knowing what he's talking about. So the biggest issue I have with Japanese card resellers in the US, this is what I call, like, the second, or I would say, like, the third degree of store that someone who's trying to save the most money should shop from. I made a video talking all about how to buy Japanese Pokemon cards, by the way, and the cheapest way to do it. But resellers based outside of Japan, so in the US, is that they are very good at obfuscating information and presenting situations differently to what they actually are. Now, I get why they do it, right? Because they are a business and a business wants to make money. However, that is a trade-off that they are making willingly versus they're trading between the accessibility and the price of something and how honestly they are like respecting and treating the whole consumer base versus like the money that they're going to put into their pocket. So they're making a trade and saying like, I'm okay, like obfuscating information here or like blurring the lines a little bit to make a little bit more extra money. And in a sense, sort of like selling or selling the soul or like trading away the ability for like the everyday common collector to just be able to get stuff easily. Because when resellers do that and have higher prices than buying locally within Japan or buying directly from the Pokemon Center in Japan, it shifts the market price and it makes things more expensive than they traditionally would, because US-based sellers are huge, right? Because the US market is huge. It's like 50% of the total like 50% is a round number, but it's like roughly 50%, right? So they fill a void because they make it a bit easier to buy stuff if you don't want to jump through the hoops and you are okay paying that $5, $10, $15 extra. And like, that's fine, you know, like a microism where they just do that. And if you find the store and you want to buy from them and you're comfortable paying that price, you do it. But the issue that I have with them is that they masquerade as having the best deal or like constantly trying to do the best to buy collectors and trying to help as much as they can and being there for the community, when the reality is that they're not. Like, they are factually not, right? Because any avid hardcore Japanese Pokemon card collector who's been doing this since 2020 or even doing it since before that, right, would know that it's a load of baloney, that you can get this stuff way cheaper than the stores, the US resellers are. So that's my issue. They obfuscate the truth and the information they put out there spreads. And Brian's really good at like utilizing social media to build his store and promote it. I gotta give it, like, you know, he does a good job at doing that. But that snowballs. And then what happens then is the new people that come into the space that are like, hey, I'm going to collect Japanese Pokemon cards, see that first. And that becomes the norm for them, the standard. And that they are okay paying that extra price because they feel like that is like the status quo, right? And like, if they want to pay it, that's fine. But the reality is that they can get it cheaper and they're being misled. And I think that is a bad business practice because you're manipulating the trust that a consumer has inherently with businesses and people that are presenting themselves as respectable to make more money. And I know that you can make a modest salary or like modest profits by doing reselling in a ethical manner. So that's my long answer to that. And I feel like it's very detailed and should clear everything up.
Yeah, I have some questions. So what would be an example of information that they're, you know, keeping hidden or obfuscating?
So when stores like that say there's a storm coming and like are very like elusive, and like I see Sakura does this a lot, right? It's like, guys, some shit's going down. What does that do, Rob? What's like the knee-jerk reaction to that? If you're like following a Pokemon card account and they say some shit's going down,
you got to buy it.
Well, what emotion does it evoke immediately? Like, what's the first thing?
Well, I'm excited. I think I'm different because I'm like, it's going down. It's time to buy it. You panic.
There's like an element of fear, right?
Yeah. You're like, oh no, I've lost my money. That's what the average Joe will think, right? Yeah.
Right. So you automatically like introduce this fear element into the next thing you're going to say, which is, oh, there's a shortage of supply and the prices are going to go up, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Why can't you just say, why can't you just update your prices and be like, hey, updated stock, new price list. It's on the website if you want to buy it.
I think a lot of them
Because
do that.
well,
What do you what are they? I mean, I see, like, I mean, I went through a period of monitoring, like Sakura and Pokémon pretty heavily, because they were two of the guys in the space, and I would just I think Brian's doing a lot more these days, and I don't want to turn the stream into Brian. I get on well with Brian. I like him. I don't agree with everything he says, and I'm sure he doesn't agree with everything I say. But I've really liked that on the English side of things. I think what he's done very recently with Prismatic is a good thing. Not going over and selling it over MSRP like a lot of other stores are. I think that's done it very well. I think that's really nice. But I don't know. I'm not so sure about this. Like, I see Japanese sellers, like Retrospecs is in the chat, for example. I don't know if you know Retrospecs. Like, I've never seen that dude. I don't watch a whole lot of his YouTube, granted, but I've not seen, like, I follow his stories every day to see what his price is on all the boxes, and he literally just posts, poof, here's the price, here's the price, here's the price. I think there is an element of this sensationalism right now across the whole space, this like Mr. Beastify content. And I think that was something that resonated with me when you talked about it on your stream yesterday. And for those watching, there is like a previously on, the Pokemon world, but everything has to be kind of over the top, and it has to be like flashy, crashing thumbnails, and it's going up, it's going down, like, oh no, like this kind of thing, right? Even the openings, the box openings have to be that way to get people to get onto your channel in the first place. And then if you've got the competence, if you've got the, you're able to articulate certain points and people believe you, or they like you, or whatever it is, they think you're funny, they stick around on your channel, right? And I think that's at the heart, I think, to kind of draw a big circle on this, kind of what Brian's doing is, like, he's very good at making content. As you said, he's very good at getting people to watch his stuff. And I don't see that as necessarily bad. I don't know if he's hiding stuff or not. I haven't been able to see that, if that makes sense.
Well, the thing is, right, those stores, like I said, they have a lot of pull. They've done well in like establishing themselves as the go-to if you're trying to buy Japanese in the US, right? But they're utilizing social media they're utilizing social media in the place of traditional advertising, which is like, targeted ads or whatever. So they're jumping on trends. They're using like engagement bait, or they're good at keeping the audience engaged to redirect those people to their store, right? And they're capitalizing on the customer's emotions to then buy the products from them. Because they've done such a good job of doing that, right? The prices that they sell the things like the boxes at, the marker, right, becomes an accepted price. This is why I was saying that, because they become trusted, right? Because like, you can trust me, like I'm trying to help you. I'm giving you all this advice, right? Like I know what I'm talking about. And if you want to build a business, here's all my numbers and my data, and you can be just like me. And also, like, I'm selling this stuff, and like, because I've just shown you, like, and being very honest and open and transparent with you, you know that what I'm telling you should be like true and correct here. But any Japanese Pokemon card collector worth their salt knows that that's not the case. It's difficult to combat that misinformation or that obfuscation of information, right? And you say it's like, I don't understand like why it's a bad thing. Well, it's a bad thing because that sets a new market price, right? That becomes the status quo for people that are coming to the space and buying things, and that forces every other store then to put their prices up. So the second kind of like store that I would buy from if I was buying Japanese cards beyond the Pokemon Center would be from a reseller in Japan, right? Where you pay like a modest marker, but you're paying, I like to speak in yen because the retail price is 5,500 yen.
Yeah.
You're paying 6,000 yen, right? So there's a difference between paying 35 USD and 37 USD, right? Plus shipping. And then all in all, you're paying like 41 USD a box, right? But those guys, those stores can no longer do that because the pressure of the resellers in the States that are saying, hey, we're giving you the best deal, we're doing such a great job, you can trust us, guys, are forcing them to up their prices or be at risk of being bought out and having their stock then resold by flippers, scalpers, etc. Because the flippers and scalpers can identify that, hey, there's like a bit of arbitrage here, right? I can buy it from this store and then sell and flip it. I can undercut Pokémon or Sakura, who's selling it for 50, and I can sell it for 47, and I can make 5 USD per box, right? Now I'm just pulling like imaginary numbers out of my head, but all this stuff scales, right? And that is bad for collectors, especially people like me. Because I saw someone in the chat say that like Pokemon knows the most about Japanese. Look, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on Japanese Pokemon cards, but I like to think that I know quite a lot and I'm heavily involved with it, right? So I can tell you from experience and other people's experiences and stories, because I speak to all the Japanese Pokemon card collectors because it's my hobby and passion, that it's fucking annoying. And that is bad. That is why we call it bad, right? It's great if you're the store. Fantastic if you're the store. It's fantastic if you're someone who thinks you're getting a good deal, but the reality is that you aren't. And I take issue with it. Especially when I was criticized by Brian and he, you know, tried to draw this like point and this crazy conclusion that I ignored him because it didn't suit my narrative. And then made a short that took what I said about Pokemon out of context. However funny it was, like, yeah, funny, haha, but like, be honest about like the full context of the clip. Don't post somebody and then blur it with like fucking slow mode voice effects and stuff like that, because anybody can do that. You can make anybody look stupid when they're trying to make a point by cutting out bits and pieces of the words they made. That's like late 90s, like fucking hit piece kind of style media. Anybody can do that.
I thought it was a funny reel. I mean, that was the entertainment value I got out of it. And I mean, I watched your live. I did see, you know, it wasn't exactly as was said, but I think it was intended as comedy for nothing else. But and Brian, I see a lot of people in the chat. I've already gone pretty deep into this DUC stuff that I'm drinking, so I'm going to try and keep up with it. But I am going to put up a comment from Retrospects if it's okay. So he says you were literally in a video in a car chat with Steven while he was sourcing inventory. Did you take issue with what he was doing?
No, I didn't. Why would I take issue with it? He's buying cards in Japan that you can't get unless you go to Japan. He literally flew to Japan, right? So that's a cost. He runs a business. He pays taxes. He's by the books. He sourced cards the absolute cheapest possible way, right? The cards are worth what they are because collectors want them. Because now you're talking about two different things. If you had said Steven went to Japan and bought boxes, different story. But Steven went to Japan and bought cards, and collectors like to buy cards. And cards only go up in value when they are manipulated by market buyouts, or the price of the box that they are from becomes scarce and expensive and hard to find, or when there's natural organic growth in the card. And that's totally fine because that's the nature of collectibles. So Steven was in Japan buying cards for his shop. What do you want him to do? Not run his shop? Steven doesn't pretend like he doesn't advertise like he's giving you the best deal. I actually can give you a bit of insight. Steven prices things at the price that he wants to sell them at. And if they don't sell, he doesn't care. But that's it. That's the price he wants to sell it at. So he just puts it up. It's a fucking game to that guy. Like, he's doing that for fun. I think you're trying to connect two dots that just aren't there. And it's kind of weird. And I think any rational, like, collector, and this is the difference, like a collector would be able to identify that there is a difference there and then not ask a question like that because they would already know the answer to it.
Well, I like the idea of fun, personally. For me, this is why I make content, is to have fun, is to engage, and is to find some kind of community, right? And I think that's really important. There's a comment up here, and again, I'm going, there's so many comments coming in. I really appreciate you guys leaving the comment. I mean, Brian does say, yeah, I should pick one out. He's writing here, only people who can afford plane tickets should be allowed to sell cards to the US. There's another one here as well. Where is it? I bought a retail. Where is the
I don't get that. I don't get that statement, but I think it's an attempt at being funny. I don't get it. Sorry.
I think what he's saying is because you and Stephen were in Japan. I think is the difference. Like, location does that matter? Here it is. Eloy Gabriel. We buy from who we trust, and I think this is a very important point right now, especially when you look at, you know, you got bars of soap coming out your Japanese boxes. Like, you know, I don't know. Have you ever had that experience? Like, you bought a lot of Japanese boxes. Like, have you ever had anything be tampered with? Have you been like, okay, this is wrong. Like, there's no hits in this box, so there should be. It's high class set. You never had that experience?
No, that comes with knowing how to identify a good deal from a bad deal. Like, that just comes with like experience. Like, if something looks like it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. But that's I mean, buy from me you trust. That's fine. I'm just saying that there are other stores out there that you can trust that do not engage in those types of practices.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Hey, I mean, look, it's the opinion here. I mean, Stephen has put Stephen's in the chat.
Yeah, that's my fucking boy.
Really good at
and, like, that's my fucking boy. And like, you know, I don't like if you're in the chat and you're like, oh, you're just biased because he's your mate. Like, I don't give a shit. That guy's my fucking boy, right? And Stephen and I have had disagreements, and there's some things that Stephen has done and said to me that I don't like, but I know that guy is fucking real. And you can't tell me, you can't look at his business and say he is a malicious business, or he's a person that is exploiting the trust and goodwill of collectors for his own personal gain. Because Stephen just does it for the love of the game, and that's the difference. The other, you know what the other difference is? That guy fucking likes Pokemon, right? He doesn't treat Pokemon as like a vessel or a meme, an ends to a meme, right? He doesn't trade the hobby or the thing that people like for money. He doesn't sell it out, right? Steven actually likes Pokemon. And I know there's like this, it's very easy to be like, oh, like you're gatekeeping and like prove who does and doesn't like Pokemon. And like Brian said he doesn't like Pokemon. Like he doesn't fucking care. Like he wears it on his sleeve as like his persona. You watch the Vice documentary, he doesn't know anything about the things that he's selling, which would be fine again. But like if you're going to go on a documentary, like at least do the work to like present like as if you know what you're talking about. That's the difference. So if I'm biased to Steven because he's my mate, I don't care. Like he's my fucking mate, and I'll die on that hill. Love you, Steven. Have fun in Japan. Right now, doing the same thing. Buy up, King. It's not our ball.
Where's the distinction? So yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, look, I don't want to spend too much time on Brian. I have seen some stuff, just kind of that he's posted when he was a kid. You know, I haven't seen the Vice thing, so I'll have to check that out. But he seems to be pretty into it. But hey, there's different levels, right? I don't know everything about every generation. I don't know every card, every Pokemon. Like I can't say that. I know a lot about certain eras, and I'm very passionate about some stuff, right? I mean, where's the line?
But like Rob, if you see that there is a group of people that like this thing a lot, right? And they're like really passionate, and they get on streams like this and they are telling you like, hey, what you're doing or like what is being done by this group of people is bullshit, right? And you can see, like, you see that, right? But you look at it in the face and go, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm going to get mine. Like, one, how do you live yourself, right? That's like how. I mean, I do see how, like, your fucking pockets aligned, right? It benefits your bottom line, right? But two, how can you honestly like feign to be offended if someone criticizes you? Like, we're not even talking like calling people names and saying like investors need to go to hell or whatever. Like, we're just saying like, hey, what you're doing is like frustrating and putting pressure on this space. Like, how can you even be like offended that people are criticizing that when you are actively, and people are telling you that you are actively putting pressure negatively on their space? I mean, I get it, right? I get why, because I understand how people are and how humans are, and like most people are greedy, but at the same time, I don't, and that's where I think a lot of the frustration from collectors comes from, because they can't get an answer. You know, they want an answer, but they will never get an actual rational explanation that will satisfy them, so they get frustrated.
What answer are they looking for?
Why? Like, why do you do this? But they will never get the answer that will satisfy them, because if the answer is like, because I like money, then they'll be like, well, fuck, right? If the answer is, I don't know why, then I'll be like, well, then find out why. If the answer is like, I don't think what I'm doing is actually hurting you, but like with there's people saying like, hey, it's like actually like putting pressure on this space though. Like I'm telling you, like there will never be satisfaction. The only way to resolve it is to remove that group from the equation, but you can't, because once they're in the way they are now, that's just how it is. So you get this like tug of war, and there's like these arguments and like, you know, drama and all this stuff. It's endless. It will never stop, because it will never resolve itself. Once it starts, that's it. You look at any collectible that has been infiltrated by investors, it's never the same again. The sneaker space, never the same again. Sports cards, never the same again. Same with Pokemon. Video games with wider grading, never the same again. Once it's in, that's it. And so like, I speak about this a lot, and I like collectibles in general. I'm quite passionate about. It's like, you know, everything. The next thing feels like the last bastion, like the last place, and then it gets taken, and it's like, well, fuck, what's next? You know, like where does it end? We're going to be left with nothing. And I spoke about this a little bit in the stream, right? That leads to the downfall of like culture and the appreciation of the arts, because and like, I must sound like a crazy man right now, but like, think about it. If people are only valuing things because they're things and they're worth money as objects, right? Because that's what it is. Nobody buys Twilight Masquerade because they like the Greninja and keeps it sealed as an investment because they like the Greninja. Because if they like the fucking Greninja, they buy the card and look at it, right? They'd open the box and try and get it, right? Or now all of a sudden we're just like buying boxes, you know? Like what? I got Sonic and Shadow Generations here, decent game, right? You know, if all of a sudden all the Sonic and Shadow Generations get sold out and becomes a scarce commodity, it might as well just be a fucking blue box. Buy blue box, because like it's going to go up, and like that is what we're doing. Like we're trading the contents of the thing that we're claiming that we like away for money. That's where the fucking issue comes from.
So what is okay, one thing first of all, I mean, I'm someone that collects boxes of all different kinds. Like I have my Dragon Dagger here. I got some retro Power Rangers. I got Final Fantasy.
Power Rangers fan. Let's go.
Yeah, I like Power Rangers a lot. I got Turbo Man doll up here. Like you can see, I like boxes. I like keeping things in boxes. I'm one of those weird guys that likes to do that. And I like the same thing with Pokemon too. I like to keep things sealed as well as I do invest in Pokemon cards, as you know. So let me ask you this. What does the perfect version of the hobby look like to you?
Well, how many Power Rangers Dragon Daggers do you have?
I have a few.
How many though?
I think I have 3. This one's signed by Jason David Frank. So this one's
so
my
you got
favorite
synced ones? That's fantastic.
Yeah, I got like sabers and figures. Yeah, I have this problem. I have to buy like 2 of everything, so at least. So yeah, and I in my mind, I'm like, hey, this could be worth a lot of money too. So it's like, I'm at the mindset that's like, I love this thing, and I also want this thing to be worth more intrinsically, because there's this like push pull. Like when I was a kid, for example, and this is me maybe projecting my own childhood into the space. I had a very happy childhood, but we didn't have any money, right? So that was always a thing with my parents was, you know, we don't have any money. Like, what's going on? And my dad became like a self-made millionaire. That was something I got to experience during his life, and it was awesome. So, but like for me, it was like, what are you playing all these things for? Pokemon cards, Power Rangers, whatever it may be. They're worthless. Like they're no good, right? And for me, they were very important because they were mine and they meant so much to me. And now for me to be an adult and to be like, man, these things are actually worth, and they're validated in their dollar values as well as what they mean to me. It's like, okay, this is really cool. And I think that's true for a lot of people, and whether you're an investor or a collector. Some collectors don't want to see the values, they don't care, but some really do, and they like that. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. And that's why I wanted to ask you what you think the perfect version of the hobby would look like today.
Well, if when you were collecting those things, you were just simply unable to obtain them because they just weren't in the stores, you would not have that story right now. You would not be doing what you're doing right here, right now.
That is very true. That is very true.
So you had access to it, right? It organically grew in value over time because collectibles that you can't get anymore because they're 10 years old, right, and they were printed for a year or 2, will naturally go up in value if there's an interest in them, if Power Rangers continues to be popular, if Pokemon continues to be popular, because you can't get them anymore. But if you're not even permitted the opportunity to buy this stuff upon release on the shelves, if you have people hoarding it, or you have people like raiding Costco's, right, taking them from each other, the video is hilarious. You're not even affording people the opportunity to get into the space, right? Now, I like to talk about this a lot. I spoke about this a lot the last time there was a shortage, which was, if you're a collector, try and find another thing to take interest in. And like, this was the last time there was a shortage, and I made a lot of videos about it. Try to find another way to like stay engaged in the hobby. And there was like a lot of collectors that found other ways to stay engaged in the space, right? And I think that was fine at the time because it was like the first time really feeling like it was gone, and there was this sense of like, yeah, it'll level out. Most things usually do. But now that it's happening again, there's this like frustration and fatigue where it's like, you know what? I can't even be bothered with this anymore because it's not even fun. Like, I'm not even afforded the opportunity to go into the store and buy the new thing that I want. Two, right? Two, there's all this fighting about it. No one actually is even like talking about the thing. And three, the space feels like it's not invested with other people like me. It feels like this isn't a place for me anymore. Like I can't find these other like-minded collectors because they're also not there because they can't get in. So what it does is it just like kills it. Like to simplify it, it just kills the vibe, right? And people just move on to other things. So if you want that if you want that rise in value, because like there's nothing wrong with that as a collector, especially if you're chasing bigger and better things. If you're, you know, let's say you started collecting Power Rangers now and you didn't have the fucking Dragon Dagger, right? And you wanted it, and you want, you're not in a position that you are now where you could just say, you know, cut a bit away from your paycheck and buy it, right? Well, the only realistic way to do it in a sustainable way is to just trade up to it or like sell to it, right? Now, that's why collectors don't care if things go up in value organically, because they are able to trade parts of their collection for other parts of it. It's like you sell something, it's the same as trading if you're grail chasing, right? That only happens when there's organic interest and growth. Collectors like me are concerned that it may even get to a point where like the interest just dies completely and no new people come into the space, and you know, their grail might get cheaper, right? But because there's no one to really share it with, there's no stories, there's no experiences, the whole thing just fucking flatlines and dies. So like, while it's cool that you got it, right? Part of it is speaking about it and showing it like that, because I collect boxes too of stuff. I'm exactly the same as you. I feel like we're roughly the same age. I don't really talk about my age. I don't want to, but you're a Power Rangers fan. You're a Power Rangers fan, right? And I don't have my sealed Power Rangers, but I have all my fucking all of them at home, right? And I value them greatly. And the boxes I do have, right? I treasure them, and that's because I was afforded the opportunity to get them. If you don't let people come into the space, you will not get that in 10, 20 years. And like, that is, sorry, I know this is your stream, and I feel really bad if I'm like fucking yapping too hard.
No, it's
right?
just fine.
At any point to just cut me off, right?
It's fine. It's
right?
Good.
But if you actually really think about it, you as an investor want it to like, I'm putting myself in you guys' shoes now. You want it to be sustainable. Like, this should concern you, because if you are killing it now, your plan doesn't work of holding it until the kids now grow up and like it. They're not going to fucking like it if you never even let them get in the first place, dude. Like, it's not going to happen. It's only a self-fulfilling prophecy if you let them come in. Like, if you, I feel like I'm repeating the same thing, but if you didn't get your dagger then, you wouldn't have had that story. That's the issue that I feel like a lot of collectors have. That's where you find that happy, so to answer your question, is like that happy middle ground where like it's sustainable. It's like recognizing that, you know, Pokémon's video yesterday was stupid because he said, sorry, it was stupid because he said, where were the collectors when all the stuff was on the shelf and like it wasn't selling? They were fucking collecting it. They just weren't yelling from the rooftops. People were getting it, right? People were getting Twilight. They had access to it. They were just doing it. It was like, holy Jesus, thank God. Like, no one likes it. I don't care. Cool, I can get it at least. That's what they were doing. They just weren't screaming it from the rooftops. Just because you weren't seeing thousands of views on YouTube. YouTube's a microism. Like, people just do this stuff happily without having to share it online. They were still doing it. Every collector worth their salt would trade back to that period rather than have this boom period right now. So that was silly. It was like, investors are the most consistent customer because they always buy stuff. Fantastic if you run a business. Fantastic. But irrelevant to a collector. They were just collecting the stuff.
So I couldn't get a lot of the cards that I wanted. I had friends that had them. But that was part of the draw for me, was the fact that I couldn't get it. That too. And I'm not saying that it's good. I think kids should have access to product. I mean, I'll tell you this. There's like 3 or 4 card stores in my city. A few of them are in the chat. I think Premium Sports Cards is in the chat. Good guy. Zach's in there. And they all have product. They all have product, English and Japanese on the, some still don't have Japanese, but they all have English product. It's just not Prismatic Evolutions. It's not Evolving Skies. It's not 151, right? Those things aren't in their store. It's, you know, there's still Fusion Strike available. There's still plenty of battle styles. There's still plenty of Scarlet and Violet. Obsidian Flame, still a crown, like on the shelves. So there is the, like, you know, come to kids. Kids have the chance to get this product. I believe it. They have the chance to get it. In my experience, maybe they don't have the chance to get the big bad chase cards. That's a bit of the difference. But my question is, like, because you put up this story, and I love your stories, by the way. I always watch your stories. You made me like really laugh with the comment about the ethical. Was it ethical tracking or ethical hacking? Is that it?
Oh yeah, the investor that got so upset that threatened to dox me. Yeah,
when you did awesome. The Liam Neeson thing, that was really that was pretty good. Until your flesh is cold and stiff or whatever. That was quite funny.
You know, salt. Yeah. Sorry, don't repeat it here. We don't want to get the stream thing again. It could have been a line too far.
But no, you compared it to, you compared the state of the hobby essentially to, there's this group of friends and they're in this room and they're enjoying it, and there's like, however, like 15, 20 of them, same guys come out. And then all of a sudden, for lack of a better phrase, you didn't say this exactly, but the obnoxious jocks come in and they start fucking making it loud, and it's not very fun, and okay, this isn't, and it's not very fun anymore, right? And I can see that. I really can. Because I was one of those kids, right? Like I would play with I can't remember what they're called, the hard action figures for Pokemon that came with the flippers, with the stars on the back and the front. I can't remember what they were called. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I would play with my buddies, and we would have arguments about, you know, I don't know how to play the game, but we would like flip it around if it was attack or defense, whatever. We would have arguments about which side the coin landed on. It was just fun, man, and that was how it was. And jocks went into it, right? The popular kids would come in and, you know, shit all over it. They didn't like Pokemon, but I could imagine how that would feel if they came in and were like, yeah, we really like this and we're going to take all this stuff, and like, you know, you can't have it anymore. I can relate to that feeling. I can empathize with that for sure. I mean, I just look at it and think, like, Pokemon's for everyone, isn't it? Like, can't you, if there's enough rooms for everybody, surely, you know, find another room, or like, you know, maybe there's something you can find out about this person that maybe they are more similar. Maybe they are just here to scalp the shit out of stuff and they're just complete jagweeds. But maybe they are not too bad. Maybe, you know, there's something you guys could find in common and it could ultimately be a good thing.
Well, I mean, this just circles back to that, what I was saying before, right? Which is that if you are investing, right, you are in it for the money first and foremost. So why would anybody who's in it for just Pokemon want to hang out and talk with you and engage with you if you're only in it for money first and foremost, and then Pokemon second? Because it comes back to what I was saying previously, which is that if the person who likes Pokemon is saying, hey, I think the way that you're engaging with this space is actually fucking it up a little bit, but the jock is still saying, yeah, I don't think so, you're never going to get on. So, like, why try to?
Okay. I see what you mean, yeah. I mean, there's got to be some, I think there's got to be some give and take on both sides, for sure. There's got to be some, because I have this, you know, if I'm essentially, I'm the jock in this situation, right? I don't think of myself that way, but I am, right? Technically, right? Like, I'm the jock and you're the guy, you know, playing with the flippy disks. That's it. You're me when I was a kid. Let's say it that way. I think there's got to be some accountability on both sides, right? Like, hey, on my side, and I think about this often. I make videos, and sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's not a good video to make, or maybe I won't make that video because it's not a good idea for whatever reason, right? And sometimes there's things I'll catch myself saying that I might edit out or take back a little bit, because I can't speak for all the investing channels, right? I genuinely do care about the hobby. There's so many other things I could do with my time, man, if I wanted to make more money. There's so many. I'm very good at a lot of things without being too big-headed. Like I'm extremely good at sales, good at stocks. Like I could spend my time doing that. I make like $30 on a YouTube video. Like I just like it. I like doing it. I do think for some other people, perhaps there is that element. They just want to make money, and hey, maybe that's okay, maybe not. But I think the conversation that we're having now, you and I think that's ultimately a good thing, right? There could be concessions on both sides, and you find, hey, maybe there are some similarities. I don't see why the collector has to cede has to make any concessions, though. They were perfectly fine before it all started. Like, life went on. What do they gain by opening the door to more of them? Nothing but problems. They might gain a friend.
No. No. Why? Why would you befriend someone who like is actively hurting the thing you like?
Do you not think there's elements of the investor space that actually do help? Like Pokemon knows and they cater to a lot of that stuff, and like they want to make the sets bigger and better. And there is like
I answered that. Yeah, I mean, I spoke about that a little bit at the start. That I feel like there is definitely an element of capitalizing on the state of social media. I don't want to say the state of the hobby. I want to say the state of social media, because it's the most powerful form of advertising. And I think them waiting 2 months to make the statement saying there's going to be reprints is definitely them taking advantage of that free marketing for Prismatic.
Yeah.
It was birthed from that hysteria and hype. The other issue is that, like, just to circle back to what you were saying just a second ago about making concessions, like what concessions can investors make or are actually making in response to the feedback from collectors that feel like they are negatively impacting the space?
I think being conscious of what they say and what they do is a big thing. I think from my own standpoint, anyway.
So what? Like, I know what I'm saying and doing is wrong, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway. That's just lip service. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from now. I think it's more like, you know, I'm not going to make this particular video or do this particular thing because I don't necessarily think it's the right thing to do, even though it would get me X amount of views or X amount of engagement. I think there's a conscious effort there. And I think also, I mean, I see it this way, and perhaps, again, I'm being just big-headed, but there's a lot of new people coming into this space, and I almost think investor channels now, because you can't get out of it, as you said, like they're here to stay, right? We're here to stay, but like they infiltrate every hobby. There is this element of responsibility. You know, I'm watching a lot of Spider-Man with my kid. By the way, that 90s Spider-Man is like the best Spider-Man. I've like, it's incredible the way that they wind the stories together. My daughter is loving it. With great power comes great responsibility. But the point I'm trying to make is this: when new guys come into the hobby, I think there's a lot of bad stuff that could happen to them because they see the crazy values. Maybe they watch a PokeRev video and they see the crazy values on the cards and they want to go and chase and rip, and they see an investor content that's, you know, just saying something very simple, like, you know, the mistakes channel and the mistakes videos, like, you know, don't go and rip so many packs, just buy the singles instead. Like, you know, you'd be much better off financially. Like, I do think there are positive things that the investor channels do. And I think monitoring the market is fascinating. I think it really is. It's really interesting. But you have like collectors saying that they're not like that, and they were there first. And like, it will sound petty, but it was like, we were here first, or like, I was here first, or whatever. Like, they were there first. Like, they're telling you that you're not. Why is it like, oh, if I like delete this one video but I upload this other, like, that doesn't help anything. That's just, again, like, it's the answer is like, the want is like, go away from our thing, like, stop doing this to our thing. That's the concession that they ultimately want, but it will never happen because it's just human nature. It's not even a Pokemon problem; it's a human problem.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I look at the people I've met, and I mean, look, it's a lot of it's online, but I've had a lot of in-person interactions too, which are really cool.
I've met a lot of great people in this space too, right? But like, so this is the difference, Rob. It's like, and I'll give it to you, right? You can make a friend because, like, I don't like what you do, right? I don't like what you do, and I've told you, and I think, like,
it's fair.
What you do, like, doesn't help this space. Like, it doesn't help it it doesn't. What you do is at the disinterest of collectors, right? But I'm also like a grown man, and I can see past that. Like, that doesn't just identify you, right? But at the end of the day, am I going to be as like jovial and buddy with you as someone like my mate who fucking loves Pokemon card collecting and talking about the art and whatever as I am with you? No, I can't, because it's not. So it's like not real.
Yeah.
So it's like you're making the like. Yeah, I mean, like, and this could be a cultural difference too, right? Maybe, and it could just be a cultural difference, right? Because I'm Italian. Both my parents are Italian, and I was raised in a very traditional Italian family. I live in Australia, right? But I consider myself Italian. And I personally just don't find any value in like pretending to have a deep relationship with someone. Will I come on your stream and talk with you about it? Yeah, you asked me to, right? I don't want to be disrespectful. You invited me on. I'll come
That's
on.
fair.
But I'm not going to like pretend like we're this, because we just aren't, because we like have this fundamental disagreement, right? And like friends can have disagreements, right? But when you like you're asking like a stalemate like this, like it's not a real, or like it's not a real true friendship to me, and I just don't see the value in pretending that it is. And that's why like you will never see. And I shouldn't fucking be so harsh on myself and say maybe it's just me. No, that is why you will not see like collectors hold hands with investors and be like, let's fucking go. I think creators are a bit of a different story. Like creators that make content for like the fun of Pokemon and creators that make content for investing, like they meet on different pretenses. Like we both have vested interests. It benefits both of us to be friends and like have this connection and network, because I'm on your stream, you're on my stream, you know, our channels grow and we're here to like grow our channels, right? That's a bit different. But like the fundamental base level collector that doesn't do any of that crap, like as in crap, as in like make content and whatever, like that doesn't do any of that stuff. And then the fundamental base investor, like they have no reason to like, so like they never will. I'm like, there's nothing to gain out of it.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see your point of view, and I can accept that. And look, I like your content. I think you're a killer editor. I think you make some great videos. I didn't invite you on so that we can become best friends and potentially lovers, gay love. But I think it would be. I honestly thought we'd have a good discussion. That was it. I think people would enjoy it. That was the logic here in inviting you on. So, but
I mean, like okay, and so like I'll give you that as well. I'll give you that too, and that was like part of why I was okay coming on, because I knew that you, out of everybody that came on that stream, you were one of the few that I was like, I know that I can at least have a discussion with you, and even though we're definitely not gonna agree, right?
Yeah.
We'll disagree a lot. It will be a fruitful discussion. And so I guess out of all of it, that is probably the best thing that can come out of it, is that there's a discourse, right? But I think it's a pointless discourse, because it's just like, yeah, we'll hear it and like people will hear each other's sides. The only way that discourse is like worth anything is if people just accept that that's just how it is, and the fucking infighting and like bickering or whatever stops. But that's at the disinterest of every creator, because people like to see the engagement and the discourse and the arguments between people. So
yeah, there is when you said the divide, like, oh, sorry, the difference between the creators, I think, and then, you know, that kind of microcosm, for lack of a better word, and then you've got the casual fans and the casual investors. Yeah, I can see that, and I see it in the views too. I mean, even when you look at the YouTube views, I mean, you know, you've got someone like Pat Flynn, you know, Rev, like, you know, yourself, like genuine collector content that usually does way better. I mean, there's clearly more of an audience, I think, historically for that stuff than there is the investing, and the investing's kind of saturated. And sometimes, you know, I sit down and I'm like, you know, I'd like to make this video instead, and it's like, okay, well, that probably won't perform so well, and like, is it going to be worth my time to do it? And yeah, I struggle with that kind of stuff too, because like sometimes I just want to make collecting content as well as investing content, right? So I see where you're coming from on that, is what I'm trying to say. So I want to be mindful of time, but I do want to ask you, like, where is this headed, man? Where do you see Pokemon going in the next decade if things continue along this trajectory?
I think there's a very real risk, right, of the interest in like physical, tangible collectibles just going away, and the culture behind it dying. Is it going to happen next year? No. Is it going to happen over time? I think there's a real risk that it can. Scrumpy actually is a great point. I think people are going to trend towards digital.
Yeah.
And that's probably why TCG Pocket is so much more popular, is because you can just open the app, open up the packs for free. You can spend money if you want. You're going to be able to trade soon. And you can just share your pools, talk about the cards. That's it. All this other shit is just not there. The value, the investing, the shortages, whatever. It's free of that. And I think that's a perfect example of why Pocket is thriving so much, is because finally people have found, or people have found a new place, or like those people that are like hardcore about collecting, right, have found a place to go. They've found their new place and engage comfortably without all this other stuff. So don't be surprised if we do end up at this all digital card future sooner rather than later. And everybody who's involved in it right now will be partially to blame for it. But that's just where I see it going.
Yeah, I would agree, and I just want to say to guys in the chat, I'm very bad at the chat. I've seen a lot of guys in there leaving comments. I apologize. I'm trying to catch some of the funny ones to keep it light, but I saw Beard in there, Steven saying some stuff. Brian retrospects, a lot of other people, Forrest. So, but yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of digital potential, and that I don't like so much, quite honestly.
It's not even potential. It's already being realized, Rob. Go look at like any TCG Pocket video channel, whatever. Like the channels have grown rapidly. The views are leagues beyond Pokemon card content's traditional views. Like they eclipse even the biggest creators in the physical card opening space. Like it's not potential. It's like it's already happening. And there's a good reason why.
I want meant like the things they could do, but I wasn't aware of that actually. I don't follow that side of things. I don't have the game. I don't even play Pocket. I know I'm gonna get addicted to it. So do you play it?
Yeah, it's great fun. You get packs for free. You get to look at the pretty cards. You get to talk about them. You get people rubbing it in your face the exact same way. I have friends posting when they get like when fucking Mythical Island dropped the second bunch of packs. One of my mates got Celebi off the first packs, and I was paying because I like it, and he was hanging it over my head, and I was like, "We're back! Like this is how it used to be. This is how it was in like." When I was opening packs online all the time and like making a lot of pack opening content, it's like, yeah, this was what it was about. Like I'd open a box, I'd get, Pikarom, special art, Japanese.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I got it. Eat it. Like that was like, that's what it's about. That's like, now it's like fatigue. And like, we don't do that. Like the people that I talk about Pokemon cards with, we don't do that anymore with physical. We just do it with digital. Like, I don't know. I feel like if you like Pokemon cards, like how are you not playing Pocket? Like why would you not play it?
I know I'm gonna. But first of all, there's the time thing. I'm not gonna. I barely have enough time to do my content most days, and I make time. So I know I would get addicted to it. I also know I played pay to play games before as well. I know you don't have to pay for Pocket, but there is a pay to play element to it. I 100% know I would end up spending a bunch of money on wasting a lot of money on that game. So it's more of a talking to my therapist about impulse control. I have an impulse control issue.
Yeah.
So that is the main reason. I have not done it, quite honestly.
You have impulse control issues, but you have a wall of Pokemon boxes sealed behind you.
Dude, there's I have so many vices. I got drinking problem. It's only so many things you can fit in. You can go.
That comment from Labs is great though. Digital turns into physical interest. I think no, you're right. It did. It definitely contributed to this, and that video that I made spoke about it at the start. But they've just been turned away. Like they've been like, I came back in because of Pocket. I can't buy anything. I guess I'll just go back to Pocket. Like that's it happening. That is the physical, tangible manifestation of what I'm talking about. Is that new people are coming in, or people are coming back after 20-25 years. The door is shut, and they're like, "Whoa, okay, I guess I'm not doing that. Back to Pocket it is," and that's it. That was their chance. So that's a huge slip up on Pokemon's part. I mean, I spoke about this in the stream yesterday. Is that I feel like Pokemon have traded the short-term benefit of making sure everything sells out in this year, right, quickly and rapidly, for the long-term benefit of that sustainable, natural, organic growth in the space.
And then when those kids reach their peak earning, sorry, go ahead.
No, and that's the path they took. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, no worries. No, I was just going to say when those same kids reach their peak earning years and can afford to pay 10,000 for an Umbreon V from Prismatic Evolutions, that's what they'll do. I guess
if potentially, yes, if the space is still alive and people still care about it. But like I'm saying, like I feel like that it will die in between this period. There will be a transition, and then it will just be forgotten. And the only people that'll be buying Umbreons and whatever, that'll care about it will be the people that are here now that were there for it.
Could be. Yeah, I do wonder about that sometimes. I do. In my quieter moments. Nick's in the chat. Brian said he was leaving, but he's decided to I'm having a great hair day. I want to just point that out. I went in the tub before this, and I've had a haircut recently, which no one's commented on, which I am a little bit bummed out about. There's a lot of love for your beard too.
Thank you.
Are you enjoying dad life?
Yeah, it's great. It's very rewarding. And he was definitely a blessing that refreshed my 2024. It gave me like a much different outlook on life. So like I think about the future a lot now, more than I used to. Not that I didn't really think about the future, but I definitely think about the future a lot now. Yeah, very different though. This is a different January than it was last year.
Yeah, changes everything, man. When we did the stream, when we did the live stream, you knew you guys were pregnant at that point. That would have been April. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, it's exhausting, man. I think I told you to keep up with your core, right?
Yeah.
That is very. I cannot. Anyone that's watching this, if you're having kids, like make sure you have a strong core. It's very, very important. You don't want to get locked up and then your wife hates you. This guy's saying I have nice hair. I wish I had some. So, quite honestly, Julian, that is everything I wanted to cover tonight. I didn't really have too much else that I wanted to talk about. I'm very conscious of your time. People in the chat, I'm conscious of the fact
if you feel like there's a few questions in chat you want to put up on the screen, I got a bit more time.
Because I think you're enjoying yourself. We might just be best friends after all. This is good. Yeah, let's get some chat. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, that would be good. Stop having. What does this one say? Sorry, I'm reading the fun. I just read the funny comments. Stop having sex. 4 is too much. Stephen has 4. I didn't know that.
That's crazy.
2 is enough for me, man. Survival mode.
That was one of the first things he said when I said we're having a baby, or that we had a baby. He said, "Congrats on the sex."
It's hard not to be friends with Robs. Get him out of here. I can't help it. Yeah, 2 is going for. People say like 1 to 2 is really difficult, but going like 2 to 3, like 3 to 4 is supposed to be like a lot easier because by then the oldest kid starts helping out more and can take care of things. But all it is right now is just screaming, man. Like screaming, like who's got the Frozen freaking costume, who's sticking stuff over each other. Like, here's an actual question. This theory. What reflections do you have on the 2021 Japanese boom compared to now? Is it the same game as before?
I have played these games before. It is very, very reminiscent of the 2021 boom, just with a little bit more spice. I don't know. I don't think the Japanese side will be impacted as much this go around. It's feeling the side effects of it all, but it always dies down. I was in Nomics' stream yesterday, listening for a bit, and because like we were talking about Nomics' response to Rev, so I went back and I was watching a bit of Nomics' stream, and he was like, everyone likes English more than Japanese. No, Japanese Pokemon cards are better than no Pokemon cards, but at the end of the day, everyone likes Japanese. Everyone likes English. English is worth more. English is better because it reaches more players, more customers and collectors. And I was like, good. Yeah, I hope that if there's anything rhetoric that you spread on your channel, that it's that. Yeah, like Japanese gets impacted by English when English starts heaving the way it does, but also Japanese gets manipulated a little bit harder than English because the pool of cards is significantly less. So like you see a lot more buyouts too, especially from neighboring Asian countries. So that doesn't happen as much with English. The
Yeah,
modern Japanese will resolve itself because unlike the Pokemon Company International, the Pokemon Company Japan said we're going to reprint stuff, and then they hammered it, like hammered the boxes into people's faces.
they really did.
Yeah, and they will do it again because they don't care. They will just hammer it.
I like that. I like that though. I like getting cheap product. So my first experience with Pokemon was English. It was basic, like many people. But I don't know what happened in my area in the UK. But like when like Neo Genesis came out, that wasn't available to me in English. I could only get it from a certain store in Japanese. And I remember pulling Lugia. I remember having the little, the gold binder that's like the Neo Genesis with the three different evolutions, like Typhlosion and everyone. One of my first experiences with Japanese was that, and it was incredible. Like I like Japanese cards a lot. So did you see my video where I spoke Japanese? Did you think it was good?
Part of me died when I watched that. I did watch that.
I figured you would not like it.
I felt like I was watching an old school Funimation dub. It was something else. But I did laugh. I laughed. I did laugh.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I think there was another question in here from Han.
There was a weird, like, it wasn't really like a question. I mean, it was a question, but it seemed like a bit of a gotcha. So if there were no Japanese, this is from Kuyon Collectibles, if there were no Japanese stores here in the US, there will be less people enjoying it. Can you handle that burden?
Okay, I'm trying to find it out while you speak.
If there were no Japanese stores in the US, people would flock to the other methods of buying the cards, which would be from Japanese stores, and they would be getting them cheaper. They would still get them. So, and that answers that component of it. And the burden, I don't understand why the burden needs to go on me. So I would handle that burden pretty well because I wouldn't even care about it.
Do you think good quality raw cards are gone for good from Tokyo area shops? Han, I don't know if you know Tokyo Family. They're on Instagram. Awesome. Han's an awesome dude. He lives in Tokyo and opens a lot of packs.
I was last in Tokyo in March last year, so I don't know what it's like now. It was pretty grim when we were there. I know Steven's there at the moment, and so he could probably answer based on what he's seen the last day or two. But I would say, yeah, the climate has definitely changed over there, especially in Tokyo of all places, because it was pretty, like the difference between so the difference between Worlds 2023 pre-Worlds, because I went to Japan before Worlds, a week and a bit before Worlds, because I wanted to see what it would be like before all the international collectibles and players came. And then even that, the difference between the week before Worlds 2023 and then like a week or two after it was like huge. It felt like everything just dipped, like disappeared, right? And then between August 2023 and March 2024, it was very different. A lot of vintage was more expensive than it was in the August. The modern, we were in a dip then. Things had dipped and like kind of the ass fell out of it at the end of 2023. Sorry, I'm just like, this is going to be the most entertaining conversation right now because I'm like kind of like retracing history here. But that gap was noticeable. But I don't know what it's like right now. I feel like it is going to be worse because a lot more collectors and creators have gone to Japan in the last year. Like there's a lot of videos like those up on YouTube now. And you know, that just says to me a lot of the stuff's probably getting bought out now. It would be unlikely for it to really be there. Like anything that's like not ultra modern.
What English sealed product do you own?
English sealed product. I have a Vivid Voltage booster box that I never opened, and I have a Twilight Masquerade that I won from Top 32 at Perth. I have an Italian Scarlet and Violet box that I won from a tournament, and I have some old Celebration stuff from when I was opening up a lot of Celebrations. So I kind of have like one of each celebrations box because I was like, I'm not getting any of the, I'm not getting the Zard. And I just like called it a day because I like having a box or two.
So Giant Fillet's making this. He's got a problem with Mimic Brew, but it actually made me remember. Dan doesn't have a lot of hair. That's very true. So Mimic did a video discussing you and the CT scanners, and you are the content creator that kind of broke that news and broke what was happening with what's the name of the company? Industrial whatever. Looking back on that, do you think the CT scanner has had the impact on the hobby that a lot of people were afraid or said it would have?
No.
Why not?
Because people didn't care. And there's a lot of people that collect out there because they just like having an old sealed box. But it kind of it got like brushed under the radar, like pushed aside. Yeah, I have thought a lot about like why that didn't really move the needle a lot. But I guess the like collecting space just decided that it wasn't that big of a deal, whether you could tell what was inside or not. And that was it. I haven't paid too close attention to the vintage market, so I don't really know what happened there. I didn't follow up on it. I haven't looked, so I don't know where the vintage. I don't know. I actually no. To be honest, I don't know where the vintage tanked in the short term. Like old school stuff was worth less, and like how it's changed since then. But I did know when I made the video that I was like pretty confident, comfortable that it wasn't going to move the needle on modern because it just wasn't worth doing on modern. There was like a lot of fear and panic about modern being ruined, but I think that was just like hysteria and was generally unfounded because the value proposition wasn't there. Has it changed now? Maybe, for stuff like Evolving Skies, but you'll never know. But the really funny thing with that was that like, yeah, I made the video and like I broke the story that they were like commercializing it. But you don't know how many stories I've heard about that happening and people not knowing for years. The only issue is that like I can't go to print on them because they're anecdotal, and so like there's no evidence. There actually was an update that company put out, Industrial, that there was like evidence of people CT scanning a sports pack in like 2003. They put an article. No one really spoke about it, which I thought was great because there was like proof that this was being done before, and there was a lot of people at the time saying you can't prove that it was being done before, but like I'd made that video and spoke about that because I felt it was better that people knew that it was something that could be done or was being done versus not knowing. And I'll die on that hill. So
yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's willful ignorance, and I mean there's guys running fusion strike packs under a stud finder, dude. Like, I mean, to find hits, you can see videos.
Like, what's the difference? The stud finder's like how much on Amazon? It's like, what's the difference between talking about that and publicizing that? That's way more accessible.
I agree. I thought it would have more of an impact on vintage, like you said. I when I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is actually pretty bad for vintage. And there were a few. I mean, Catch 'em All Collectibles was one that was saying like he's not going to be selling, roll the dice on the pack from a base booster box, right? All that stuff. And I agree with that. To your point, I don't think people care. I don't think they care. I really don't. And if someone has the capital to be able to do it, then they do it, and that's just how it goes. So, yeah.
There's someone in the comments saying address the poke any allegations. I answered the questions Rob asked me at the start. I feel like pretty thoroughly. Brian said this.
I'll put it up. Yeah.
But I already answered it. Brian said like, curious. You criticized my. I'm paraphrasing, but he made a comment along those lines. Why did you either buy from my store, or being worried about me misleading people that they're getting a better deal? I wanted to gift a box of V-Star Universe, one box to a friend, and it was easier for me to just pay and bite the bullet as a gift to her than it was for me to just ship it from the States. So I just did that, and that was it. And I asked him if he could chop me a deal, and I think he gave me like $5 off, and that was it. That was the only thing I bought from Brian's store. and I would not buy anything else because I live in Australia and I know how to get. One, I live in Australia and the shipping's like way too much, and two, I know how to get boxes cheaper. So
that's fair, yeah. And look, we did talk a lot about Brian at the start of the stream, and like towards the middle as well. So, and I appreciate everyone that's in the chat, everyone that's joined in. Like, it always blows me away when people are in the comments and talking and leaving stuff. Like, I really appreciate it. It's a cool discourse, I think, in the comments here as well. Roosevelt's in here.
Brian, sorry, Rob.
Go ahead.
I actually quite liked this stream when I was just looking at you, and now I'm looking at the chat. I should have kept it at that. It was a birthday present, and I wanted to make sure that I got to her on a birthday. It's a pure one-off. So, was it easier? Yes. And I spoke about how at the start, right, resellers in the States facilitate and make it easier. The issue I have is presenting it as if it is a fantastic deal. And in a period like with Shiny Treasure EX, where you can buy that set very easily. And I spoke about this in my story. Brian said that where I said any Japanese card collector or like aficionado worth their salt would have known what was going to happen with Shiny Treasure EX when it released, wouldn't have in good faith sold it for 100 USD per box, right? That was the issue that I took. That's the issue I have with obfuscating the information.
Oh, okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. The Shiny Treasure thing, yeah. That was like, again, I don't want to come across as defending anyone. Like, I get on well with a lot of people in the space. Brian is one of them. And like, I don't know, I was surprised by what happened with Shiny Treasure. I mean, you know, maybe I hadn't been monitoring high class. I didn't think it was going to do exactly what it did. I still think if somebody wants to buy, you're going to hate what I say. If somebody wants to buy that box, I think less than $60 a box for a high class set in the long term is good on the export market. But you thought like, hey, it's definitely going to crash down. Like, did you see it getting like $23 a box in Sneaker Dunk? Like, did you see that happening with that?
Yeah, when I saw the set list, because I know what cards people like, collectors like, what will drive demand. When I saw the set list, yes. When I saw the statement that the Pokemon company made, what, 8 months prior, that they were going to print this stuff into the ground, yeah. Like, it was, the writing was on the wall. But like, I mean, I just personally, right, this is just a difference in mentality, is right. I mean, this is great because like I can do the holier than thou thing and people will be like, oh, what a saint. But like, you know what? I actually don't care. If I was running that business, there's no fucking way I would have said, hey guys, you can buy it from me, but it's going to be 100 USD per box. Because that's crazy. That's crazy. At that point, just don't sell it. Like, if you claim, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you claim to like Pokemon as much as you say you do, if you claim you're a fan, you would not actively do something that hurts the space. Like, you would not validate the prices that you're being asked of by your supplier to sell. And you would use your wits and your intelligence and your experience to say, you know what? I don't think this set is really going to be worth 100 USD for very long. I'm not going to sell it on release, and I'm just going to wait and sell it later. But you didn't, and that's a decision you got to live with, and you have to accept being criticized for that.
Some people just want to rip shit at release, though, man. Like, they're like, "Fuck, I've done that too." I'm like, I know this,
but like, do it in a sustainable way.
Yeah,
but like, we were talking a little bit about earlier about doing it, about making concessions and stuff. I mean, that is one of them. Like, do it in a sustainable way. You know, if you want to like make paper and run a timber mill, don't fucking like fucking burn down and fucking cut down every forest. Like, do it in moderation, sustainably. But that's not at like, that is a like directly opposes like the fundamentals of capitalism. And like, that's why I'm saying like it's not even a Pokemon issue, it's a societal issue. It's never enough. There is never a line for people where it's like I can like make a comfortable living and I can like engage in this hobby as a reseller and like, you know, make a decent wage, collect a couple cards, and I don't feel like I'm like actively hurting it. Versus like, I need to maximize profits and make as much money as I possibly can right now while the iron's hot, because if I don't, somebody else will, and money, like I just got to do it. But it's just like a difference in opinion of running a business. It's funny because like there's a lot of people being like, oh, so don't run a business or whatever. I run my own business, and like it's moderately successful, and I'm comfortable with it that way. But I live a different style of life. Like I'm happy just, you know, getting my bread and being able to live my life and do the things and engage and enjoy the stuff I like. That is of more value to me than just like non-stop Sigma grind set. Got to get the bag, whatever. Like you can, it's difficult to like criticize like the fundamentals of capitalism in a American like a forum that's dominated by Americans, because of any group of people that I've met around the world, and I've met a lot of different people around the world, I feel like Americans like fucking love capitalism, and like if you even moderately criticize it, you're a commie. And I've been called a commie many times. So it's a weird one.
I have two for the record.
You're a commie as well?
Well, hey, Marx and Engels, there's some good stuff in there, man. Socialism, maybe. When I was a teenager, yeah, Catcher in the Rye Face. Mark actually asked, "Are you good with a possum?" You didn't respond to his positive comment on your last vid.
Look, that's between like that's. I don't want to like stoke that fire.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't trying to.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So like, yeah, I mean, like, that's like kind of like that doesn't need to be a theatrical thing. Like, it's disagreement is between me and Possum. So like, sorry, I don't want to go into it.
Rob's a socialist. No, I'm not. I'm not. Just JLove. I think we're gonna cut it there. I got to go to bed. I've drank too much already. So I do want to say, I think next Thursday I'll be on with Goated Pools, Twice Baked Jake. I think Bulbasaur's gonna join us as well. Maybe I hope she does. Maybe Ava's binder will be on. We will see. We will see what happens. But I'm really excited for next week. That'd be a cool stream. JLove, where go ahead.
It's just like the chat is just so funny, but like many people say the Fidel Castro of the Pokemon community. Like it is like Shiny Vert saying instead of making $10, you should make $5. Like if you're a fisherman, right? And like that's probably a terrible example because the fishing industry is it's both a terrible and a fantastic example. The fishing industry is an example of an industry that has been decimated by people that do not engage in fishing sustainably, to the point where it is like putting species of fish at risk of extinction, right? And we are actually getting like lower quality salmon. We are eating like dog shit salmon that is actively harming our body, right? But we do it because for some reason we just don't care, right? Because the oceans have been fished dry, right? Those fishing companies can still operate if they fish sustainably, right? Same thing applies here. You can still make bread and like earn a living and make money without absolutely pillaging the thing that you claim to love. Like you can actually do both. You can be a reseller, and there are resellers that do it, and I know them, right? Like you can do it, but a lot of people don't, and they get like really defensive when pressed on that point or when like criticized about the way that they operate their business. So like if you want to talk about like concessions and like making concessions, like there's one. Maybe like you don't have to become a fucking multimillionaire in 2 years. Like you can do it over 10. You can still live a fruitful, enriched life, right? If you're, like I said, if you're actually getting people telling you that like you're like pillaging the space and like you're ruining it, you're hurting it, but you're not, then that's on you. But like if you want to talk about concessions, like that's one that you guys could make that people just will not. So like you can clown the fish example all you want because like it's funny and whatever, but like you asked me to come on. I feel like I've been pretty respectful. I know you're not doing this, Rob, but like
Yeah.
I was asked to come onto this stream, and Rob's been good to me, and so I said I'd go on it, and I feel like I've answered these questions pretty well. So been pretty open. So like you can like it's all well and good to like clown and whatever for the fun of it, but like, what's the point of that?
So I actually thought about this a lot recently on like the examples of what success looks like in business for people who want to start a business. And the ultimate success are your biggest companies out there. Now let's look at the Western side of things. So like your Amazons, your Apples, those kind of companies, the Nvidias of the world that are just drawing and depleting huge resources from the world and don't really give two fucks, right? So it's not surprising that's the template. And I think that, that's outside of the Pokemon space for sure. For sure. Like, you want to clown on the fishing, whatever, you have a point. It's hard to find organic and sustainably sourced stuff. I don't disagree with you on that stuff. I really don't. I mean, inside that same thought, though, is like Pokemon cards, if you want to go down that route, are actually very bad for the environment. There's a huge amount of waste generated by them. A lot of trees get destroyed. I don't know how, maybe you do, and I'm genuinely saying that. Like, I don't know how ethically they're printing stuff and where they're getting all their tinfoil from and all that stuff. Like, maybe it's not the best hobby to be in from that standpoint too. And that's a bit of a bummer to end the chat on, but maybe we're all in the wrong place.
Yeah, like I'm glad you can see it for what it is, which is more than just a Pokemon. Like saying this a lot here is, I mean, it's just more than a Pokemon card issue. But I don't think that is a conversation that many people are ready to have. Or like I mean, like I bring up the fishing analogy, and like it gets clowned on. It's like fine, clown on it, but like we're like talking about higher level topics here beyond Pokemon cards. We're trying to like actually like people are trying to rationalize why it's happening. People are giving you answers, and like it's getting laughed at. So,
have you seen that movie Don't Look Up?
Yes,
I really like that film.
Yeah, I think it was a bit on the nose. I was entertained. I liked it. I think about it sometimes, but
we really do have everything.
Sorry?
We really do have everything.
Yes, we do.
We really do. Julian, I thought people were going to be very hostile towards me in this chat, and some people have been, but I really do genuinely appreciate you coming on. I think you need to make more of it from my very selfish standpoint. I think you need to make more content. I really enjoy your content. I really enjoy different perspectives, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. I don't just want to have guys that agree, like, oh yeah, this is the best thing to invest in right now. The market's going up. I think that's important. I think discourse is important, and I think you do too. And I would hope that we would have a chance to chat again, my friend. I really would.
Thank you for having me on, Rob. It was a pleasure.
I'm wearing a Link Legend of Zelda t-shirt. Somebody asked, so yeah. Well, we didn't get into rip and chips. They're really bad. But I'm kidding. There's some problems, but there's also lots of good people that do it. Thank you very much, guys. I'm gonna go and sleep. Julian, you can get back to everything. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, guys. Take it easy.
See you later.